What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living in West Africa. I'm in the Gambia right now. And if you want to know what happened in the Sierra Leonean political elections, because man, was this a crazy week, then this is the video for you. All right, guys. I'm in the Gambia right now, so my lighting isn't that great. My apologies. I wish it was better, but it isn't. So this is what you got for now. Hopefully you guys can see me. Let me know if you guys can hear me, because we live. We are live. We're live on all platforms. We're live on Instagram. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Twitch. We're live on YouTube, and we're live on Facebook. So we're live everywhere. We're live everywhere. I got into the Gambia last night, which is why I am going live today instead of my normal day on Monday. And also, which is why it's so dark in here, because I don't have my ring light with me because it was difficult to travel with. So give me a thumbs up so you can hear me. Okay, so I know you can hear me. Okay, cool. I got Instagram, everybody saying you can hear me. Charles Murphy said, sound is good. What do we have? 24 saying, looking forward to this one. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. We got a lot to talk about, guys. The elections in Sierra Leone have just been called, and we do have a winner of the presidential election in Sierra Leone. It's been controversial, to say the least. Lots of interesting developments over the last week and a day since we last talked. I mean, I went live last Monday, and when I went live, some things happened. Some people tragically lost life. There were some riots, there were some protests, there was some police shootings, there was some tear gas, all of the above. So we're going to get into all of that today. And we're going to talk about what happened. We're going to get both sides politically. We're going to get responses and reactions to everything from either side politically. We're going to talk about it all. I know today also, last week I had mentioned that we were going to look at the manifestos from both parties. If we have time today, we will. If not, I'll just give you the link to look at the manifestos. At the end of the day, only one of them technically matters now, because there was a winner announced today in Sierra Leone, and we're going to get to that in a second. If my face is shiny, that's because I've been sweating because it is hot here in the Gambia. I do have the AC on, but I just came off of another live. We back-to-back lives today. And so that is the reason why I'm maybe a little bit sweaty. It was a long day outside today, but I wanted to make sure I got to you guys. So next week, we're going to talk about this trip to the Gambia and what has been for me and what it has meant to me, and how interesting it's been, and what I've been learning. The Gambia is an interesting place. I'm shooting a lot of content here, and I'm going to tell you guys all about that. But today is not about that. Today is about the Sierra Leone election, because it's been announced. It's been announced. We talked about it all day today. I'm with a group of Sierra Leoneans here in the Gambia. And there are a lot of Sierra Leoneans, by the way, that live in the Gambia. Because of the Civil War, a lot of people left to come to the Gambia and other places in West Africa. But the Gambia seems to have a really large population of Sierra Leoneans. So there was a lot of people talking about it today, and we're going to talk about it too. So now, if you're following on Instagram Live, head over to the link in my profile. That'll take you to my YouTube channel, and then from my YouTube channel you should be able to find this live video if you want to follow along and see the presentation as we go live. I'm going to put the comments on the screen, and I'm going to put up a presentation as well. So Spirit Warrior is saying, is it my network? Are you guys not able to hear me on YouTube? Let me know on YouTube if you're able to hear me. If there's a delay, sorry, the network is not the greatest here. But let me know if you guys are still hearing me. And if you're not hearing me, let me know that as well. I can also hotspot from my phone. Ibrahim says, "Audi body, the body fine, oh, no bad, oh." All is well, man. Thank you for asking. All right, so let's do this. Let's get right into the presentation. There's a lot to cover today. It's a lot to cover. It's been interesting. As someone who grew up in the States and who has parents that are Sierra Leonean, Politics came up from time to time, but it wasn't until recently where we talked about politics a whole lot more. Now that I'm an adult, and this election has been an interesting one. Let's just put it that way. All right, so I'm gonna get right into it. Okay, Spirit Warrior said he could hear me, but the video was buffering. Yeah, it's the internet connection I have in the room. Sorry, guys. But hopefully the information that you get today will be enough to counteract some of the challenges you might be having with the technical difficulties. Because, I am where I am, and the internet is what it is. When you're in West Africa, you got to just go with the flow with the internet being what it is, And unfortunately, right now, it kind of is what it is. So I'm glad you guys can at least hear me. At the very least, you got audio, and hopefully you get video as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now because I think it's about that time. All right. So I'm going to share a particular window, which is this here. Okay. It should be up on the screen now. So 2023 election results. Who's the real winner of the Sierra Leone presidential election? I knew at the time that I created this flyer or this thumbnail that there was going to be some controversy. I knew it already because what is a West African election without controversy? And I'm not speaking on any any particular side. I'm just saying there's always controversy. And there's controversy in the U.S. too. I mean, there's some people who haven't conceded yet. So what do we have today? We're going to go through all of it, and there's a lot to discuss. I'm going to take you through a timeline of everything that happened up to the election, the day of the election, and then everything that's happened since the election, and then today, what's happened today, because there's been a lot of different things going on. And a lot of what I'm going to reference today is from a site called Sierra Leone. And I'm also going to be referencing my own personal experience because I happened to hear some of the gunshots that went off. And I happened to be going home the second time there were alleged gunshots. And so it has been a very interesting week. And we're going to get into all of it in a second. Yeah, so guys, definitely hit that thumbs up, hit the like button if you're interested in this content, because there's a lot we're going to go through. So Anne-Marie Harding says, I can hear you. Hello, everybody. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get into it because there's a lot to review and I want to get through all of it. So just real quick, major update. So as I mentioned, obviously this is a Tuesday, not a Monday, and I'm live today because I traveled yesterday. I'm in the Gambia. I'm here as an influencer. And I will be basically covering this trip. It's a company called Visit Sierra Leone or Visit VSL. They do trips to Guinea. They will be working on trips to Liberia, Ivory Coast, and now they've decided to come to the Gambia. And I was added to the trip on Friday. And I found out on Saturday or late Friday night, my flight was actually going to interfere with the time I normally go live on Mondays. And then also the following Monday, I'm flying back to Sierra Leone. So that's next Monday. And I will also have to miss the live on Monday, but I'm just going to go live on Tuesday. So today we're going to talk about the election results. And it's a good thing I actually went live today because yesterday I wouldn't have been able to talk about the election results because they called the election just a couple hours ago. And then next week, we'll talk about my trip here in Gambia and what it's been like. So I'm here for the week, my first time ever here in Gambia. It's been a great trip so far. A few minor hiccups here and there, but overall, it's been a really good trip. So I'm looking forward to sharing what this experience has been like. So I'm obviously live right now, 9 p.m. GMT. I'll be live again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. GMT. The link is already up and ready, so you can set your notifications up so that you get notified. All right, really quickly, the videos that went up this week. Guys, I need your support with these videos. 3 videos. Well, 2 videos are going to be up this week, and then 1 video technically is going to be next week Sunday, or coming up this coming Sunday, but which is actually the next week. So I did an interview with a gentleman by the name of Siaka Stevens. He is the grandson of the former president of Sierra Leone, Siaka Stevens. He has a really big events company called Ball and Parties, and he does a number of major parties and events in December and in April. I've been to a number of them. I've been to the Ballin' Over 30. I've been to the original Spray Party, pool party. I have friends that went to Thoa, which is the House of Africa, where he does house music and Afro beats kind of mix and stuff like that. And then there is the Africana party that he does from time to time as well, where everybody gets dressed up in the Africana attire. So that is interesting. But what is more interesting is how he's basically trying to bring Dubai to Africa. He's building a smart city with Idris Elba. That's part 2 of the interview, and that'll come out on Thursday. And that's where he's talking about that partnership with Idris and with the president or former president. We'll talk about who won and who didn't win, right? But with the administration, let's say, and how to make this happen. And so it was a really big deal. I mean, Idris is behind it 100%. They met with, folks in government, signed documents. I mean, they're going full steam ahead with this project. It's really going to be interesting. It's called the Shebrol City Island Project. Shebrol Island is an island off the coast of Sierra Leone. And also, it will now be a city eventually. And that is what he's working on. And he's really trying to he's been to Dubai a number of different times. And the goal is to be able to do for Sierra Leone and West Africa what Dubai has done for Abu Dhabi and that region. And then on Sunday, it's going to be the parties. You'll get a behind the scenes look at what those parties actually look like. I thought it might be interesting to share what that looks like. As you can see, you see in the middle, the image second from the left, that's me at the Ballin' Over 30, the gala night. And then there's the Africana party, the Thoa party, and the other Ballin' party. So you guys do not want to miss any of this. He's a really interesting guy, has a really interesting business, considering his political heritage and what he's decided to do now more recently. I think it's really like all coming full circle, and it's really interesting stuff. And then if you just want to watch what wild parties look like in West Africa, then make sure you check in on Sunday, because you will not be disappointed. Trust me. All right, cool. So let's move on. Obviously, like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure you make sure that people know about this content. I spent a little bit of time, kind of doing some housekeeping at the beginning, but I also want to make sure that, when we get into this content, that people get a chance to see and hear from it. I spent hours working on some of this stuff and researching these things. And so the idea is just to give you guys value and to make sure that you guys are aware of what's happening here if you're ever planning on moving. We're not going to get into the website. We're going to jump right into the content for the election. So what happened before? Again, I went live last Monday, and when I went live, what did we talk about, right? We talked about the 2 political parties. We talked the 2 major political parties. We talked about there's technically 11 different parties currently and people who were actually running for president, but 2 viable candidates, right? We talked about that. We talked about a little bit about their platforms. We talked a little bit about the fact that you need 55% of the vote outright in order to win. We talked about the fact that if you don't have 55%, there's a runoff, and then it's just the majority. So just to recap, last time there was an election, the 2 major figures who ran, which is Samora Kamara, who is the flag bearer for APC, and Julius Maada, who is the flag bearer for SLPP. They ran against each other. The original election was too close to call, so there was a runoff. With that runoff, Julius Maada actually ended up winning with a little over 51% of the vote, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a very close election in 2018. And so many people thought that we were going to have a very similar situation, and we'll talk about that in a moment. All right, so what happened? So Monday we did the live. Tuesday was pretty uneventful. And then Wednesday, I was actually working from home. And there was gunshots fired and tear gas fired around the APC headquarters, which is about 2 minutes from where I stay. That's the All People's Congress headquarters in Brookfields, Freetown. This was coming amidst a planned peaceful protest by the party scheduled for Wednesday, June 21st. Remember, I had said on Monday there was supposed to be a protest. APC wanted to do a protest, but they ended up meeting with the ECSL, which is the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. And they weren't satisfied with that. So then they had a protest outside of their own political headquarters, the APC offices. As you can see in the bottom right-hand side picture, you see the people that were there for the protest. You can see some of them are moving quickly and running because there was tear gas and shots fired. And then you obviously see a military personnel firing something. Okay, so let me just get right into my immediate reaction that day. I mean, this is real-time reaction. Like I was sitting in my apartment and I heard some things. So I'm going to press play on this so you guys can hear what exactly was going on that day. So I'm downtown and I'm hearing that they were firing live bullets. I heard the bullets. I heard them. They were firing live rounds. I don't know who was shot at and who did the shooting, but there were a bunch of people on bikes and cars driving and running away. I don't know what the hell happened. So everybody's out on the street right now trying to figure out what the hell's going on. But apparently they were firing live rounds down there. I'm not going down there because I'm not trying to get shot. I'm not a reporter, so I'm not going, but they said that they were firing live rounds. I just saw a military officer with a gun in hand. People are honking and driving and trying to get away from the situation. I don't know what the hell happened. Riots in the APC.
Yeah, between APC office.
Not APC people or SLPP?
I'm not going to tell you, coming witness.
Oh, okay. All right, so you get the idea. That's a real-time reaction. Like that day. So I said, okay, so let me tell you what happened, right? So I'm in my apartment, right? I'm on the phone with a friend of mine, and we're just talking about like what to expect for the elections, et cetera, et cetera. And I hear gunshots. And I know what gunshots sound like because I used to live in the Bronx. And I also lived in Harlem before too. So I know what gunshots sound like. And so I'm hearing the gunshots. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy because I heard like 4 gunshots just now. And I'm not used to hearing gunshots in Sierra Leone. And so I hear these gunshots and then I hear people screaming. I hear commotion, right? It's kind of delayed because I'm about 2 minutes away driving, but to get there, to run there, probably would take like 5 minutes. So I waited until I heard the commotion die down and I haven't heard gunshots for like 3 to 5 minutes. Then I went outside, and that was the video you just saw of me being outside right after I heard it. I said, what the hell, like 6 times, by the way. I just noticed that. But that was like in real time. That was my real reaction at that moment, what was happening. And that guy was down there in that area. He heard it, but he wasn't actually visually in sight of what happened. But he was. I was asking him what happened, and that was his response. I didn't witness it, but there was a shooting down there. And then other people kept running up and saying they're shooting, they're shooting, they're shooting, and you know, just hysterically screaming. It was a lot. It was a lot. And so, you know, I was just a little bit like, I don't know what's going on, you know, and you know, I actually was just trying to like look online to see what happened. And then I saw this article. So I'm downtown and I'm hearing that they were firing live bullets. I saw this article, and this gentleman here. This is him still alive, but he was a supporter of All People's Congress. He was shot dead after police fired live bullets in the party's headquarters in Freetown on Wednesday. So this guy here was, and there's other footage and video, but because it was very graphic, I didn't want to show the video or the footage here because I don't know, you know, how people are with blood and things like that, and somebody lost their life. So I don't really want to show all of that. But these are images taken directly from a news site that showed this is what happened. So imagine, you know, this is supposed to be a peaceful protest. They're chanting, you know, the leader of the ESL must go, ECSL must go. That's what they were chanting, and there was police fire. Now there definitely was a response to this by the police, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I have the response here. No, I don't have the response. But from what I understood, the police said that they were attacked, and so they had to fire. But that was crazy to me that could actually potentially happen. I was not prepared for that at all. And so, you know, these are the things that can happen. Now, I do want to remind everyone, because I mean that's scary, right? Police shooting people. But how familiar is that to you if you live in the States, right? Police shooting people, that's like an everyday occurrence. So it's very unusual here in Sierra Leone where that kind of thing happens. Last August, 27 people died as a result of a protest, 6 police officers, 21 civilians. That was a pretty big deal. It's 26 people. On this day, Wednesday, June 21st, it was one person, but one person is one too many, right? And so it was really unfortunate. And this was something that has been a topic of conversation pretty regularly. And I just wanted to bring this story to you guys. I don't know how many of you knew about it, but we were all talking about this locally. A friend of mine had a birthday party during the week last week, and we had to keep it in at her place. We didn't go out anywhere. We didn't go out at all. Everybody decided they weren't going out at all. Everyone stayed in because there was just this fear of potentially a stray bullet or anything that could happen. So that was the only incident of that sort, that extreme sort that week. We'll talk about what happened this next week, but or over the weekend. But let's just move on to some of the other things that happened. So there were also 15 protesters in Waterloo, as they say, or Waterloo with my American accent. The local unit commander of Waterloo Division, CSP, his name is Ibrahim Sama, has basically arrested 15 people comprising of 2 women and 13 men from various communities around Waterloo. Basically, they said unlawful protests. And so they were basically saying Kona Fogo, which is Safo, which is the guy who runs ECSL, which is the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. That's what they were protesting. It was the same protest that the APC folks were doing outside of the APC office, where one person tragically lost their life. It was a very similar protest happening in Waterloo, and this is what they were chanting. These are the signs they were holding, and these 15 people were arrested for unlawful protest. So that was another thing that happened. So in the morning, you had someone passed tragically, and by the afternoon, there was a story of 15 people in police custody. So that was leading up to the election. And there were many other things, but those are the main things that were happening leading up to the election. Now let's talk about the day of the election. Now, I wasn't able to get the videos up here, and I'm going to do a whole vlog separately about the day of the election and my experience there. A friend of mine voted, and I went with her while she was voting. I wanted to film, but I didn't have the proper credentials ahead of time, so they wouldn't allow me to film inside. But one thing I will say is something that I noticed personally, firsthand, is someone who they had a piece of paper, and that piece of paper had all of their information on it, right? Their date of birth, a bunch of different pieces of information. They were attempting to use that to vote, and they were told that they weren't able to vote because that was not the proper ID for voting. Now, why this guy was frustrated is because he said on the day he was trying to get his voter registration and get the proper ID, that was the piece of paper they gave him. And he asked, can I vote with this paper if I don't get my ID? And he says that they told him yes. And so there are a few incidents like that where people had mentioned, and I saw that physically with my own eyes. I saw him say this. I've heard other stories, I've seen other videos, but I saw this guy arguing with the people working there. He was very upset, as you can imagine. He obviously was from the opposition party of the people in power. So he was saying that's the reason why he wasn't given his chance to vote, et cetera, et cetera. He was very upset. And I was just there to observe. And so that to me, I found interesting. I'll just leave it at that. So there's some other questions and comments. Let's see. What are people saying? Sorry, this light is so bright in my face, I can't even see my mouse. So No Narrative is here saying, what's up, No Narrative? Thanks for joining. My connection isn't the greatest, so sorry, guys, for my bad connection. Anita Howard is here. Greetings. She said greetings. What's up? Spear Warrior is saying, I would like to have an apartment in downtown Bo. Well, we should talk. We should talk. Nancy H is saying, wow, I've never seen an officer with a gun, only military. It may have been military officer. It's hard to tell. I can't tell, to be honest. And some people, there's conflicting descriptions of the person who potentially shot. I think I see a video of them putting him on a bike. Yes, yeah, that there is a video. If you go to Sierra SierraLoaded.com. They have all the footage there. And there's been videos passed around on WhatsApp as well. Charles Murphy says, oh, Charlie Murphy, what a name. Said prayers for Salon. Yes. And then Tony McKinney says, I don't understand why. Yeah, I mean, sometimes there isn't an answer. All we know is what happened, right? And it's unfortunate and it's sad, but it did happen in that way. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to get to all your comments before I moved on. I think that's everyone. All right, let's get into the day of the election. So some things happened on the day of the election, mostly peaceful, but there were isolated incidents. So one specific incident was a man beaten in McKinney for allegedly possessing 500 voted ballot papers, meaning people who voted, he took them. I don't know why, I don't know how, but he was beaten for that. And there's a whole story about it. There are numerous reports, but yeah, he was beaten. And several centers in the Western rural and urban area hadn't started voting at that point. There was also many delays in voting as well. You can see the long lines here where I was. People got there early and voted pretty quickly where I was, near to where I was. But in other places, I heard that there were a lot of long lines. Some people didn't start voting till 4 p.m. and they got to the polling stations at 6 a.m. I have a friend who went to vote. She left to be at the polling stations at 5 a.m. She left her house at 5 a.m. to make sure she was there on time. She didn't end up voting until 11 a.m. But now polling stations don't really open till 8 anyway, but people were just trying to get there early so that they didn't have to wait in line. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of reports of delayed polls opening and the ability to start the voting process. And so there were people who were there all day long. So there's a question. Charles Murphy has a question before we move on. Charles Murphy's question is, could a passport be an ID for voting? No. No, passport cannot be. You have to register and you need to have the proper local identification. I should have put a picture of it up, but if you just Google it, you'll find examples of it. There are ads all over Freetown about it. And then Maggie Holloway is saying, hi, to most of us in the USA and Europe, I didn't get the rest of what you said. I'm sure you have a multi-bullet pointed statement to make, so we'll check out the rest of them in a moment. Nancy H said, let's be mindful, this happens everywhere and in the thousands in America. That's exactly right. You know, in terms of, I guess you're talking about police shooting folks, or the challenges with voting at the polling stations and being long lines of polling stations. I agree 100%. In the US, it happens very frequently. It takes a long time to vote almost anywhere. So yes, all true stuff. All right, let's move on, because these are just some of the things that happened on the day of. So there was a polling station where parliamentary police had to storm the polling center. They did it because they said that there was, because of the delays, people were upset, and basically the police came to quell concerns, stop disruptions, et cetera, et cetera. That had happened pretty frequently that day and other days. So a couple of questions. Bode had a question for me. It's a good question. So let me try to figure out where my mouse is so that I can answer his question. Sorry, guys, give me a moment here. My mouse is disappearing on me because my screen is giving me some challenges. Here we go. So Bode's question is, where did you vote? It's a great question. So I did not vote. I was unable to vote. So this is a impartial live and discussion. I did not vote. I was unable to vote because I did not register on time. I came to Sierra Leone in November. You had to start the registration process in October. I was not aware of that, or I would have come in October. But here's one lesson I will tell all of you. If you have the ability to vote outside of the United States, do your research as far ahead of time as possible as to the process of registering to vote. It's not like you could just register online or register at the DMV like you do in the United States. you have to go through a particular process, which I did not do, and my lesson has been learned because I was really excited to be voting in this election. Once I got my citizenship in January the 2nd of 2019, I was sure I was going to be voting in 2023. And obviously, I was not able to vote because I unfortunately was not registered to vote. So I missed it. But I will be voting in the next election. You better believe it. Tony McKinney said, "Who won and what do people think of him?" Well, we'll get to that in a second. We will get to that in a second. I have the answer to who won, and I'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to give everybody a little bit of background on what happens in the country leading up to the election. But we're on election day, so we will very shortly be talking about who won. And man, today has been an interesting day. There's been a lot of conversation all day today about who won, who was going to win, how it was going to go, was it going to be free and fair? All those questions were coming up. And this is just more about more voting delays. And you can see the long lines and all the people there, right? There's so many people that were there and the long delays to vote. But people stayed and voted and made sure that their voice was heard and they voted. Okay. So the news since the election. So the election was on Saturday, January 24th. As of this point of this live, this is Tuesday, June 26th. And so there have been many things that have happened since then, and we're going to talk through a number of them. So first, let's talk about another situation that happened. I have a voice note from a friend of mine or somebody who I know who was actually in the APC headquarters when this happened. But tear gas and bullets were fired at the APC headquarters, and you can actually see an aerial shot of the APC headquarters and the tear gas coming from right outside and from within the APC headquarters. So I had a friend that was there who sent a frantic voice note. I did not get permission from her to play it, and so I'm not going to play it, but you can hear the panic in her voice. Can you imagine being in there? You hear gunshots firing at you, and you hear tear gas. You see tear gas coming in there. It was crazy, and so I'm glad that she got out of there and got home safe. But it was many hours later because they basically just they sheltered in place and stayed there for a couple hours, and then she eventually got home. There also was a lady who lost her life. You know what? My battery life is dying, so let me get my charger. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. I know it's in the middle of a very important topic, but I just want to make sure I don't lose battery life on this live while I'm saying this very important thing. So give me one moment. This has been a theme, right? My battery has been always going to die every time I go live. Okay, we're back on. Cool. All right. So and so let me go back and give this lady her just due. So a woman identified as I guess it's Martin Hawa Dumbaya was reported to have died at the main APC People's Congress office after basically there was some shots fired in the building. So the news agency Reuters, actually, so Reuters, international news agency that I think that people find to be a credible news source, and one that I actually, the business I used to work for full time, I actually worked on their advertising for them, said that a woman was found motionless, severely wounded, and without a pulse in a room where the window was found shattered the size of a fist, right? So obviously either it was tear gas that was fired in there and it hit her and that's what wounded her, or it was actually a bullet wound. While it's unclear what really happened outside the party's office, the leadership of the party accused security forces of attacking them. And I think it's pretty clear there's tear gas there, right? So at the very least, it's pretty clear that the police did something. Now, this was actually happening after I was having lunch with a friend at the hub. So not very close at all, pretty far away. And we found out about this while I was away from home. So I didn't hear the commotion live like I did on the previous Wednesday. So they were holding a post-election election conference at their Brookfield headquarters when the police barricaded their office and began firing live rounds and tear gas at them. There was a response from the police that I do want to get to after you can see this video again really quickly. But here's what their response was. So Sierra Leone police explain the reason for firing tear gas and barricading the APC headquarters. So this is their response to actually firing tear gas and barricading the headquarters. So the Sierra Leone police have explained okay, I've already said that. So here's what the explanation was. Their party, APC members, had to block the street and old railway line and started harassing passersby, especially those in green outfits who were perceived to be members of the Sierra Leonean People's Party, SLPP, the police said. Now, let me at least say this to be fair. The other day, I was on a bike going to an event in somewhere else in town, and there was a guy in a keke, which is like, I think they call them rickshaws in India, but they're like, it's a covered three-wheel motorized vehicle, right? He was wearing green, and I definitely saw people running up to the keke and shaking it. And my bike driver was like stopping to look at it. I'm like, you better go. Now, I wasn't wearing green, but I wasn't trying to stay there and watch that and see what was to happen. So I can say I have seen something similar to what the police are saying happened in this instance. Now, I don't know if that's what happened here, but I can tell you that I've seen with my own eyes that can and has happened. I can only speak to my own personal view. I saw it, and it was happening so fast, I didn't get my camera out to film it. You guys know I'm a recent content creator over the last couple of years, so I'm still not as on it like everybody else is who can get the camera out and just film. So I saw it, though. I literally saw them shaking the KK, and the guy's inside screaming, and we pulled off and went. And so I don't know what ended up happening to that guy, but this account here is not too far off from what I actually have seen myself. Now, does that mean that they should have fired tear gas and live rounds into the building? No. But I'm just saying I do know that this account is not an unusual. It's not that this account can't happen. So I do just want to mention that. I want to double check to see if there's any other questions or comments before we move on. There's a lot of comments, so let me just make sure I address them. So, but I mean, let me just see what he says. As a result, the situation, this is what he followed up by saying, as a result, the situation became unbearable. The police had to fire tear gas canisters so as to disperse the crowd, which was harassing people on the road. So that was their reason for firing tear gas. Now, other people said they fired live rounds. And on both instances, the reports from the police has always been they fired tear gas only. It's been reports from other people, whether it's news outlets or people on the ground, who have said they've heard and saw live rounds. I am one of those people from the previous Wednesday to tell you that I know I heard live rounds because I know what gunshots sound like. So I did hear gunshots. Okay. So I do just want to mention that. Okay. So there's a couple of comments that I want to get to before I move on. So Charles Murphy. Sorry. Good points. I got my citizenship in 2021 and hope to vote next election. So this is helpful. Good. I'm glad that was helpful. Maggie Holloway says, let's help to rebuild our beautiful Salon. And remember, it's not what your country could do for you, but what you could do for your country. Love, peace, and unity. Yes, the famous quotes that is attributed to JFK. I'm not sure that JFK was the person who originated it, but it is attributed to him. Exactly, Maggie. You have agreement. Maggie says, thank you, Sir Charles. Okay. What do we have? So iTuber12 says there was some overreaction by the police, as they always tend to do. Overall, I think the elections went pretty smoothly. For reference, during Ghana election, 5 people died. Okay, I was not even aware of that. I was not there during their election, but I did not know that. So Nancy H says there may be opposition posing as APC supporters to cause civil unrest. That is a conversation that happens a lot around the world, right? Where people say there are people who are crisis actors or like who infiltrate. Like a lot of times they said that there were people who would infiltrate the Black Lives Matter protest, and those would be the ones who would go out and cause destruction so that it was to look bad for the Black Lives Matter movement. And so that is a conversation that comes up a lot. I cannot confirm or deny that that's what happens. I have no idea. I have nothing to do with any of that. I do not know, but anything is possible. It could be a possibility. iTuber12 says, it appears all votes were counted, but I want to see all of the polling stations' data released to know for sure. Well, I mean, we'll put it this way. Based on the number of people who are registered to vote, the number of votes that have been counted, you can give it to one winner no matter what, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if the other person who didn't win gets more votes. I don't know if it'll be enough to hit that 55%. Sorry, to stop the other person from hitting the 55% threshold. I think it's already been determined. Nancy H says, they usually pay young people to do this to make it appear as if there is unrest in the country. There you go. There's one opinion. Okay, IAS Production says, from what camp do you think shooting live rounds? So it was the police or military who shot in the live rounds. So the question is, are they, I guess they're under the, technically they're under the they report to the current administration. So I don't know if you would consider them on one political party, but they reported to the current administration. So that I guess might answer that question. Nancy H said, I've been told they give young people drugs for payment. Yeah, that's possible. Sylvia Palmer has some interesting things to say. So Sylvia Palmer says two things. One, she said, I'm a liar, which she said a little earlier. I guess because she's saying, I did not hear live rounds. I didn't hear bullets. Okay. You can tell me I didn't hear live bullets. Listen, I am impartial. Whoever is in power, I'm just happy to work with whoever is in power to help further Sierra Leone. So to me, whoever won, I wasn't going to have an issue with. So let me just first say that. All right. I also didn't vote. So let me just be very clear on that. Two, she says you are talking nonsense. I am literally reading articles and giving firsthand accounts. If you want to tell me you think I'm talking nonsense, that is your opinion, and you're allowed to have your opinion. But let me tell you something. I'm only going to tell you what I have seen in my own bare eyes, 2 eyes. So I've seen shaking of a keke right in front of me. Trust me, I saw it. I told everybody who I saw that day that I saw this happening. And in fact, I told people who I know who are part of APC that this is happening. Okay, number one. Number two, on the other side, the bullets being shot, that is something that I heard. So I'm speaking about things that happened on both sides, whether it was SLPP or APC. I am not taking one side or another. I am just speaking to the facts on the ground. Now, were you in New Brookfield, Sylvia? Did you hear or see anything that I heard and saw? Because if you did, I'd love to hear from you and what you specifically you heard and saw. Because I even played a video of my initial response right after, earlier on in this live. So if you want to go back and watch that video, you can watch it. All right. But anyway, I just wanted to address that for all of you guys watching. If you're seeing that in the comments, I did want to address Sylvia Palmer here because she's saying I'm talking nonsense and I'm a liar. So I just want to address that. Okay. iTuber12 says, the thing I hate about elections in Africa is that when your side loses, it becomes a question of democracy failing. The losing side always becomes anti-state and do everything to stop progress. Well put. I think Fada echoes a lot of the sentiments of many people around the continent of Africa. Elections in Africa are nothing but an illusion. These are the sentiments I hear, though, in the West as well. You know, there are a lot of people who feel like Donald Trump didn't lose the last election. A lot of people who feel like Hillary Clinton didn't lose the previous election before that. So I think that this is something that is common globally. So I don't think this is unique to the continent of Africa, but it is something that does come up in discussion for sure. Annoying village boy. Sorry, you're jumping ahead right now. So let me not do this. Let me see. What do we have? Okay. So iTuber12 says There's a nonprofit called New Election Watch, and they concurred with the political election announced results, and they say it was accurate, but they projected that a runoff would result, but it was not so. Right. So iTuber also says, so I want to hear their opinion now. They are very impartial and have been operating for years. So let's hope so. Okay, so Maggie Holloway says, no need for anyone to get mad or to be negative at this point. Please, let's respect each other. Peace. Yes, let's respect each other and peace. Okay, so let's get to the results. All right, is that the next slide? Nope. Yes. Oh no. So this was yesterday, because today's Tuesday. Yesterday, June 26th, a partial count was announced. So the ECSL, which is the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, released a breakdown of partial presidential results. The person who's running it, Mohamed Kone, who was the guy that some of those folks were protesting, the 15 folks that were arrested in Waterloo, and all the folks that were protesting outside of the APC office, they were protesting him and asking him to step down peacefully. He is still running the ECSL. And one of the things he said was 60% of the total polling stations were processed and cleared by the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. Result management systems, the data was tabulated by regional tally centers located in Freetown, Bo, Kenema, McKinney, and Port Local. And it was essential to emphasize that the results were announced today are only partial and do not provide a comprehensive picture of the final outcome of the presidential election. But as of this moment that they posted this on Monday, former President Matabio had 1.06 million votes, and Samora Kamara had 793,551 votes at the time of this article. Now, immediately following that, Samora Kamara released a statement. He was rejecting the partial election results, and here's why. Basically, he said this is what they said. This is what Sierra Loaded wrote in their article. The All People's Congress has vehemently rejected the partial results announced by the Electoral Commissioner. Basically, they said the party has raised serious concerns over the transparency and fairness of the electoral process, alleging a lack of inclusivity and violation of due process. According to the APC, the announced results, which account for 60% of the total tally, were derived from a tallying process that excluded APC agents from participating at regional tally centers in key cities across the country, including Port Local, Bo, Kenema, McKinney, and Freetown, which are the areas in which they said the partial tally came from. The party claims that their agents were denied access to the tallying process, preventing them from verifying and certifying the results, which is a breach of established protocol. So what they're saying is this: when the votes are being tallied, representatives from either party are supposed to be able to watch along as that tallying process happens. You guys might remember, that sounds familiar, that happens in the United States as well. What the APC is saying that in many of those major regions, APC was not allowed to watch it according to them. This is what they are saying, and this is what this article is saying. I think SLPP says otherwise, but this is what the APC is saying, and this is what they released in their statement. So we're going to get to the election and today's news, finally. But first, I want to get to some comments and questions in a comment. So Black Ops says this: my brother, even if you're telling them the right thing, they still will say it's a lie. Hold tight, things, everything will go up. Yes. Maggie Holloway says, thank you, Joe. I'm on a flight. I'll talk to you soon. Wow, you're on a flight catching a live? I appreciate that. Wow. Okay. Safe journeys. Land safely. So iTuber says, yes, I don't have a dog in this fight. I just want Sierra Leone to continue to progress forward. I'm hoping more women get to parliament per the new 30% mandate. And he put that in air quotes. Okay, one more thing too. I really hate when the losing side rejects election results or boycotts. I think it's conceding defeat is very important part of the republic. You cannot be a pro-democracy only when you win. Good point. Now, I am Leslie Jones. Leslie, what's up? I want to thank you, by the way, for sending me Jay Cameron's information. We're going to talk about this in a moment, but I am going to Tanzania this year, and that's because I saw something that Leslie had posted. So shout out to Leslie. Leslie bought land in Ghana, and we met in LA, and we met again in Ghana. And so I want to shout out Leslie Jones, but she's excited for the results. She wants to hear. So Leslie is Sierra Leonean, has Sierra Leonean heritage. So we got to get Leslie to Sierra Leone to get her passport and her citizenship. So iTuber says, now Rich Auntie Leslie can for sure get her citizenship. Rich Auntie Leslie has been what they've been calling you every time you get on the live. What's happening? What's up, Leslie? Oh, Leslie's going to Tanzania, depending on who you are. Leslie, we got to talk then. We definitely got to talk. And guys, we'll talk about this on another live, but I'm going to Tanzania and I'm going to Kenya this year. In the same way I'm here in the Gambia doing what I'm doing now, I'm going to Tanzania and Kenya. So quick plug for that. So stay tuned to that. If you want to know about the Kenya trip, just look at the link in my Instagram profile and it'll have it there. But we'll talk about that in a second. I know we need to get onto the results. So after this, we'll talk a little bit more about the trips that I'm going on. But let's get on to the results. All right. So today's news. So this morning, there was lots of news. The first thing that I saw this morning at about 10 a.m. was all of a sudden it was declared a public holiday. And a lot of offices told people not to go to work because they weren't sure what was going to happen when the election results were released. So my friends who work at NGOs worked from home. I know some people here that work for different companies. Their offices they told everyone to go home or not to come into the office. Today was declared a holiday for two reasons. One, because tomorrow is Eid. And also today was the day the election results were coming out. So this is why people were told not to go into the office today. And so this was the official announcement of the public holiday. However, the show must go on. So around 12 p.m. or 11:49 p.m., Vicky Remote predicts a runoff between Marabio and Samora Kamara. Now, she is one of our most prominent media personalities. She's lived in Ghana. She's lived in other places. She is a media consultant, a very well-known person in Sierra Leone. In fact, I think she's a follower of the page. Sometimes she comments or likes on the content on the Instagram page. So shout out to Vicky Remote. And but she's a very well-known voice here in the country, in Sierra Leone. She spends a lot of time there. She also is involved in music as well. So she has her hands in many different things. But she made a statement basically saying that she wanted to wait till 100% of the votes were tallied, but she predicted that there was going to be a runoff. Not only did she, but at 12:45 p.m., about an hour later, the National Election Watch, which I think was referenced a little earlier, said that none of the two frontrunners in the 2023 presidential election will receive 55% threshold to avoid a runoff. Interesting, right? Because at 12:45 that was said, but a winner was actually announced later. So it said no candidate will reach the constitutional threshold of 55%. Oh, so my live on Instagram was paused. Okay, we're back. My live on Instagram is back now, and we're live on YouTube still. Okay, good. So, but they basically said the observation mission informed the public that the 60% of vote, blah, blah, blah. They said because this polling station is very inside. So the news breakdown said that 60% is inclusive of 80% of the votes in certain areas, 70, whatever. But basically they said, we wish to thank the commission for providing data disaggregated by district, which increased transparency of the process. They can build confidence of the remaining process. But they said they thought that there was going to be a runoff. However, the results came in nonetheless. And here are the results as presently constituted. Ignore the two on the right because those were a copy and paste. I was out all day today, guys, so sometimes you get some errors in the document. Ignore the two on the right because the two on the left are what matters. So today, the chairman of the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, Mohamed Kone, who doubles as the national returning officer, declared the incumbent president and candidate for the Sierra Leone People's Party, Julius Maada Bio as the winner of the election. He polled at 1.56 million votes, constituting 56% according to the Electoral Commission. Of course, you need to have 55% constitutionally in order to win, in order to avoid a runoff, I should say. And the All People's Party candidate, Mr. Samora Kamara, polled at 1.1 million of the votes, representing 41.16%. And then here are the numbers for some of the other folks. These results were cleared by the ECSL, Result Management Systems, at the different tally centers. And basically they said, because these number of votes came in, there is no way for Kamara to win. And so they declared President Maada Bio, the incumbent president, the winner of the election. So let's get through some of the comments, because there are plenty of comments. So these are some notes that people have, and I will put your notes on the screen. So Dennis Emmanuel Horton said the election was rigged. That is Dennis's belief system. Let's see, what do we have here? Samuel Hollywood says, hey guys, I'm watching from the East Coast of the United States. I'm from Liberia and Sierra Leone. Shout out to you. Aisha Ladan is talking about Vicky saying Salon Celeb. Yes, she is. Montessori Moses says APC is the winner. The results are not fair. You're echoing a lot of people from the APC party, by the way. I've heard this from a lot of people in APC. Of course, people who I know who are in SLPP were celebrating. My driver and my caretaker on my property definitely did not go deliver some money today for me. He was supposed to, because he said he was out dancing and celebrating. He, by the way, switched parties. He was APC, now he's SLPP. And he was out celebrating. Many people are celebrating in Sierra Leone right now, but many people are also very upset, as Moses just mentioned. Dennis is saying ECSL was very unprofessional. I feel bad for Sierra Leone people. He had a lot to say. What is Maggie saying? Maggie's saying, Moses, we love both parties, but most of all, we love Sierra Leone more. It looks like Leslie is happy with the results, I think. Sierra Leone, here I come with my family too. Oh no, maybe you were saying yes about me coming to Tanzania. So let me not attribute something to what you were saying, something different. So yes, I'm coming to Tanzania. Yes. Okay. So iTuber says, yes, that is the same new I reference. So I want Election Commission to release all polling station data now that they can do an analysis on it and give their takeaways. They did say if the partial results were in or were legit, I guess. Partial results were legit. Okay. All right. So let's go to the reaction, right? So obviously, so by the way, President Maada Bio has already been sworn in today. So the results were announced and he was sworn in today. So that happened. I don't know if I have a note on that, but this is interesting. So around sometime this afternoon, this was going around a lot. And you know, when you go to forward something on WhatsApp, it says forwarded many times. So I got this message from both of my parents and from other people that I know, sending me this image of basically a comment from APC, which reading it, it's a good comment, basically saying there's some dissatisfaction, but saying that they concede. And so I'm not 100% sure if this is real, but it seems as though because there's dissatisfaction discussed in there, it seems it could be. But then he took to Twitter, and according to news reports, he vehemently rejected the announced results on June 24th presidential elections in Sierra Leone. In a post he shared, he denounced the outcome as a frontal attack. So what he said specifically was, it is a sad day for our beloved country. It is a frontal attack on our fledgling democracy. These results are not credible and I categorically reject the outcome. So announced by the Electoral Commission, he stated. He also said, "My compatriots, we have heard the unfortunate announcement of the elections results for the June 24th presidential elections by the Chief Electoral Commissioner, Mr. Kone. It is a sad day for our beloved country. It is a frontal attack on our fledgling democracy. The results are the results are a frontal attack." So this is what he said on Twitter. So that was his response. And now we can get to the Ask Me Anything segment, because we are done with the elections talk. So I'm going to stop the screen sharing and get to the topic. So let's see what people are saying. Let's see. So Byron is saying, "Nice. I remember him stating he was going to win. No doubt about it. I'm excited. Can't wait to get my citizenship and embark on a future investing endeavors as well." So that's what Byron's saying. So Byron is happy that SLPP won. Aisha Ladan said, "Can you explain the violence that we were hearing and seeing and the reason why? As an outside person, this is confusing to see due to elections. Is the violence government controlled? Can't say I understand." Aisha, all great questions. I actually went through them in great detail earlier in the live. I went through what I heard, the gunshots outside the APC office last Wednesday, and then I went over what happened on Sunday, where there was a loss of life. Two folks lost their lives, and so I went into all of that. So definitely go back and watch the live from the beginning, the replay. You'll get all of that. Like I went into great detail, how it was reported, the people who lost their lives, what was happening that caused it. Both of the instances where people lost their lives were at APC headquarters. And both were dealing with two different protests happening outside of the APC headquarters. So that's what happened. So any of you guys who are joining later and want to hear exactly what happened on those days, at least in terms of eyewitness reports and reports on the ground, and and other reports, I mentioned it earlier. I went through it in great detail, so definitely check that out. iTuber says, "Honestly, I think our elections went much smoother than Nigeria earlier this year. Sometimes plain old paper ballots are better than trying to use tech for everything. We could easily go and recount too." Yes, I think one of the reasons why people dispute paper ballots is because paper can go missing. You know, if you think about the 2000 election when Bush Jr. won, they had the hanging chads because people couldn't figure out how to vote with the paper ballots. Or when you think about, this guy apparently getting beaten in McKinney for trying to walk away with 200 ballots, right? So if it's digital, you have people who can hack and all that kind of stuff. But if it's secure, then at least you have those things in one place. And if it's done properly, I mean, they have their pros and cons, but if it's on paper, paper can go missing. And that's one of the things that people dispute all the time here, because they feel that's what's happening. So Spear Warrior says, "I'm waiting to see how things happen over this week." As am I. I'm not in the country now. As I mentioned, I'm in the Gambia right now. And so I'm just hearing like everyone else. I've been in the Gambia since yesterday. So, and by the way, next Monday, I'm going to go live. I'll be back in Sierra Leone next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'll be back in Sierra Leone, and I'll go live about what this week has been like. And you get a chance to see what it was like and what I think of the Gambia. I'm really excited to share that with you all. Question, Spear Warrior says, "Is it normal for a president to be sworn in on the same day?" If you know you're going to win, sure. I don't know if it's normal. Technically, no. There's usually some time in between. But I think the president was pretty sure he was going to win. He was in Parliament all day. So it's my understanding that he was in Parliament all day. There was video from inside Parliament, and people apparently in Parliament and of SLPP party were already celebrating early this morning because they were under the impression that he was going to win. So I think he was already pretty prepared to win. And so it was easy to swear him in because he was already there and all the proper parties that needed to be there were already there. And so he was sworn in. But I would also say, technically, if it was a transition of power, that person likely wouldn't have been sworn in today. But you have to be somewhere to concede or win, and so usually you might do it from somewhere. And so he just was sworn in from where he normally operates from. Okay. Yolanda Davis asks, is it safe for outsiders to visit there? I know based on this conversation, you might feel like it might not be, but it's safer than the United States. I will say Sierra Leone on the Global Peace Index is ranked 5th in terms of, maybe not safer than the United States. Is it safer than the United States? I'm pretty sure it's safer. I know Ghana's safer than the United States. I don't know if Sierra Leone is considered safer than the United States, but Sierra Leone is considered 5th on the Global Peace Index on the continent of Africa. So this is an impartial company that looks at, well, maybe it's partial, but they look at how peaceful countries are based on violent crime and all kinds of other things. And Sierra Leone is the 5th safest country to be in on the continent of Africa of 54 countries. So in general, it is safe to visit. If you go to the state.gov website for the US, they give all kinds of warnings of potential political unrest and people can rob you, blah, 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 blah. But just imagine if you're in, I don't know, let's say Compton, or I don't want to say Canarsie, but there are certain areas of different cities in the United States, Southside Chicago, right? Liberty City in Miami, right? There are certain cities that, if you're in those places, they are unsafe, right? So they are more unsafe than the whole country of Sierra Leone. So I always like to give that caveat because I know that people ask this question in good faith. I know, Yolanda, you're asking in good faith, but I just want to make sure that people know that in general, it is a safe country, even though we talked about what we talked about today. I lived in Harlem in the projects. I lived in Taft projects for 8 months. And I also, I was a witness to a shooting, like right afterwards. I saw the shooting victim. Didn't call 911, they called a friend. And I mentioned this on a previous live. Sorry. Something was crawling on me, had to get it quick. And then in Brooklyn, I actually witnessed a shooting as well in Bed-Stuy. It was late night. I was at a corner store and that person was actually murdered. And it was like 1 block away from me. And so that's far more likely to happen in Bed-Stuy or Harlem than it is to happen here in Sierra Leone. So just want to put that out there for those who also question and are wondering if Sierra Leone is safe. Just keep those kinds of things in mind. But good question. John is saying congrats to the president. Spear Warrior says APC has not made any videos, which I find odd. You mean videos of like a response to the results? I guess that's what you're saying. Aisha Ladan says, it depends on what you mean by safe. I feel safer in Salon than the US. There you go. Aisha Ladan is answering the question. iTuber says, did you go to Gambia because of the election or just a coincidence? Now, I think this trip was probably planned because of the elections. I came to the Gambia, and this is good. This is a good transition into the next topic. So I came to the Gambia because I am here as an influencer. So I am going to be filming this trip for Visit Sierra Leone. It's a group in Sierra Leone. They do everything from real estate to helping you to transition into moving into Sierra Leone, which I'm going to partner with them on some consulting related items that we've talked about previously. And they do trips to Guinea. They've done a trip to Guinea recently, and they're planning to go to Liberia and to go to other nations in West Africa. They decided to go to the Gambia. I had talked to the CEO. His name is Bimbala Carroll. I had spoken to him about 3 weeks ago, about coming along on this trip. And we had to work out the logistics to make it make sense. But on Friday, he invited me along on the trip. So I'm here now. And so I'll be here until next Monday. And in addition to that, I'm going to be in Tanzania, October 6th through the 16th. And the details for how to sign up and come along on that trip will be shared in about a week or so. And then I'm also going to be in Kenya from December 28th through January 8th. If you want details on that, you can just go to my Instagram profile, and the link in my Instagram description you'll see it says join me in Kenya. Just click on that. You get all the details for what that trip in Kenya is going to be like. And if you want to join me in Kenya this year, it's going to be a good trip. Tanzania is going to be great. Tanzania, you get me and Leslie Jones at the same time, you know? So this is going to be a good one. I don't know who else is going on the trip, but I know Leslie. And so Leslie and I have met in California, in Ghana, and now we're going to meet up in Tanzania. So if you guys want to meet us, then make sure you check out what's coming in a couple weeks. I'm going to share with you how to come to Tanzania with us. All right. What else do we have? Aisha Ladan said, I walked the streets of Salone with another lady at night with no power, and I felt fine. Yeah, I would say, you know, look, I mean, in general, it's safe. Just be careful what streets you walk down with no light, especially if you're walking by yourself. Like any city, the darker the area, the more likely for mischievous behavior, right? Keep your head on a swivel. You know, I think I've told you guys a story about me thinking I was getting robbed in Park Slope, and it was actually the police. But, you know, these are things that you just need to just be aware of your surroundings, you know. I usually don't tell people to walk down a dark alley or run and jog in a park late at night. And so generally, if you do that, you avoid potential criminal activity. Aisha Ladon said, same with Ghana. I feel much safer as a Black woman. There you go. Yeah, I felt pretty safe in Ghana, even on a street that they told me was an unsafe street. I lived somewhere which was near an unsafe street, and there was an ATM there. And sometimes if I had like something I had to do like early in the morning with my housekeeper, I would just go to the ATM at night just so I had it. If I was already out somewhere, I would just stop by the ATM, go to the ATM. And I would say I felt very safe walking the streets in Ghana. So yes. So Spirit Warrior is saying a video response after the results. He hasn't seen that. Yolanda is thanking me for my response, of course. iTuber saying he echoes the same sentiments of Aisha. Walked around alone and no problem, but I'm a dude and I understand the experiences roaming around alone will be different for women. Sierra Leone is ranked safer than both UK and United States. There you go. I knew it was ranked 5th in Africa. I was not sure where it ranked amongst countries in the West, but there you go, right there. Leslie says, we appreciate you for keeping us updated, Joe. Of course. Always happy to do so. Whew, got a lot of comments coming in. All right. Life Around Marion says, tribalism is our biggest hurdle in Sierra Leone. If we can get past those differences, our country will be more peaceful. I agree. I think tribalism is a challenge on the continent in general. Many of the civil wars were between two tribes, right? If you guys remember, in Rwanda, that's what happened. It was the two tribes. Many tribes have been warring over time and have a long history of warring. And so, yeah, I mean, in the Sierra Leone specifically, the tribes are what kind of make up the political parties, right? And so you find that people are taking political sides based on their home tribe. And it's no different in my family. You know, my family is from Bo, and many of my family members are SLPP because that is a SLPP stronghold. So Spirit Warrior says logistics meaning money. I hope. I don't know. Logistics. I don't know what the question was before then. Okay. Yolanda Davis says my love wants me to go there. He is having a home built there and trying to get me to go. However, I was worried about political unrest after elections. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, the U.S. government definitely is very cautious, and they put out bulletins all the time and tell people to sign up for step.state.gov, I think, to make sure that the embassy knows. That's something you should do, though. Make sure that the embassy knows you're in country. If ever there's an emergency and you need to be evacuated, they need to know that you're there in the country. So definitely do that if you're an American. I don't know what other nationalities and citizenships do, but yeah, I would definitely recommend that as well. This is a very well-attended live. I want to thank you guys all for joining and staying on so long. This is probably one of the more popular lives. I guess you guys really like to hear about what's going on in the election, so that's good. iTuber says, during election, things always get very tense, but afterwards, things return to normal quickly. Violence is rare. Yolanda Davis says, Thank you so much for your feedback. Of course, you're welcome. iTuber says, sorry. iTuber says it's the same all over West Africa. Spear Warrior says, LOL, getting robbed by the police. Yeah, I thought I was getting robbed, but it was just the police. Well, not just the police. It was the police. It was worse. I was even more scared when I found out it was the police. This is in the United States, NYPD. If any of you guys have encountered NYPD, and those of you who happen to be NYPD, I know that all of you are bad. All right, let me just first say that to anybody listening, anybody watching. So I don't want to deal with any issues with NYPD when I come to New York. But I'm just saying, I haven't had very good experiences with NYPD. I've had guns drawn on me twice by the NYPD, and I'm not a person who commits crime. Look at me. Listen to me clearly. So I'm not a person who commits any crimes. The only crime I ever committed was cannabis consumption in the United States, which is now legal in every state, in almost every state anyway. But I would never was a person who committed crime. I didn't even shoplift. Like I wasn't even a kid that would steal like Kit Kats or anything like that. Like I was squeaky clean, never been arrested, never spent a night in jail, none of that stuff. Like I was like squeaky clean. But I still had guns drawn on me twice by the NYPD, and I have been what is now deemed unconstitutional, stop and frisked aggressively by the NYPD. Yes. 2024 says, peace, bro. iTuber says, your place looks dope, by the way. It looks like a circular home. Oh, you're talking about where I am here. Yeah, so this is I'm actually in a hotel room in the Gambia at a resort called Balafon. You can't see it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, we'll talk about it on the next live. But yeah, this is where I'm staying. It's a nice place, very nice. Nice. They have 2 pools. They have a restaurant on property, and the location is near to where you can do like money transfer and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to get money out or you want to do money transfer, you can walk somewhere to do that. Really close by. So I like the location. And it's a nice place. The staff is really professional and really nice. They have some very interesting rules though. No guests allowed. No guests are allowed in your rooms. It kind of feels like you're like at home with your parents. When you're at home with your parents and like you can't have anybody over. This is one of the things. That's one of their rules. They also have other rules as well that I found interesting. So you gotta check that out. Mr. Bigelow is asking where I am. Where you at? I am in the Gambia. I'm in Banjul, Gambia. Okay. Kelly Cash says, this is the greatest channel on Salon. Keep pushing. We love Salon. Salon, long love, President and General Bio. Well, thank you for the compliments. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Spirit Warrior saying, hit that like button. Yes, make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up. Hit that like button. And make sure you share this with anybody who wants to know about what happened during the week lead up to the elections, because I'm sure there are a lot of questions. So make sure you share this with them. Okay, Life Around Marion says, thanks, Joe. My family is from Bo too, so you already know. We pray for a successful term for the president and a better Salon going forward. Well done, brother. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Spirit Warrior says, I remember you telling the story on the live. Oh, yeah, about the police interaction, NYPD. Yeah, man. Yeah, I won't repeat it again. Kellen Cass says NYPD will pull over and pull guns on the squares. Yes, I would like to say I'm a square. I have no problem saying that. I break no laws. I want no problems with any police anywhere around the world. Okay. Diamond Forbes, says, thanks for sharing. I'm so glad I found your page. I will be staying connected. Great. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. 24 says you bought 50 town lots, 5 acres in Sierra Leone. That was brave before the election. Oh yeah. No. I mean, and I should say it's a collective we. We meaning me and my mother, actually. So yeah, it was. So there's a little bit of dispute if it may be 20 town lots. I think it's 20 town lots. I don't know if it's 50 town lots. trying to figure out the measurements right now. There's a surveyor helping us understand that. A separate surveyor from the surveyor of the family who owned the land, right? Because that's, you know, anyway, but it's 5 acres. 5 acres, that's for sure. I wouldn't stay there if I can't have a guest. Spear Warrior. Well, listen, I'm on a group trip and I'm here to work. So, and I didn't come with a significant other. So I don't have any guests. I don't have any guests coming. 24 says, I hear the incumbent government is very tribal. Is the politics in Sierra Leone tribal? I can't speak to the first part and I won't speak to the first part. I don't know. But yes, in general, tribal, yes. People vote based on their tribe, not based on policies. Walmsley Johnson Cole says, thanks for the quick, unbiased recap of the election results. Awesome job, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining. I appreciate everyone who's joined. It looks like a few people are starting to jump off, but I want to thank all of you guys for joining. So again, I'm in the Gambia this week. Unfortunately, I couldn't invite everybody along with me to the Gambia with VSL. Even my friends were hoping to come, but I found out I was going on Friday, and it is now Tuesday. So, and we left on Monday. So we got in late last night. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to tell everybody about it. But again, Tanzania, October 6th through the 16th. And I'm going to Kenya, December 28th through January 8th. So those are the 2 trips for now. There may be more. I'm working on other trips to other countries. And so I'll keep you guys posted. But now that I'm full-time in this career as a content creator and an influencer, part of what I do is going to be traveling to other countries and sharing stories in these countries. I think I've mentioned this before. That was a goal of mine when I started this YouTube channel, not only to be focused on Ghana and Sierra Leone, because that was mostly where my focus was, because that's where I was going back and forth between. I did do some content in Nigeria previously, and I did do some content in Egypt, which you guys did not find too interesting, to be honest. But I did do some content in Egypt a little over 2 years ago. But now I'll be doing content in other countries. Now we have the Gambia. I'm going to have Tanzania, and I'm going to have Kenya later this year. I'm working on South Africa. I'm working on Nigeria. Those are 2 countries that I'm actively working on for this year. And I've been talking about doing my 40th birthday back in Ghana next year. And I may be joining another trip, the same group that I'm going to Tanzania with. We may be doing something else during my birthday time in April and May of next year. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. If you guys want to join me for the big 4-0, there will be private events that I do during that time. And then there'll be stuff that I do with the larger group. But I'm trying to bring everybody with me. I mean, my New York friends, my LA friends, which are now split into 2 groups, LA and Atlanta. My friends that I went to high school with, which are all over the country, and my college friends and my former work colleagues and stuff, everybody who I knew from New York. So I'm trying to bring all of the US folks together. Then I have a crew in Ghana, and I also have a crew in Sierra Leone. And I want that whole crew to come together for my 40th. If you can believe it, maybe you can see some of the grays in here, but I am turning 40 on May 1st, 2024. So I was born on May 1st, 1984. So May 1st, 2024, I am turning 40 years old. And I look to hopefully have my 40th birthday in Ghana. And so we'll be announcing more of that as time goes on. Let me just get through the rest of these trips and getting them finalized. And then within the next few weeks, I want to finalize the birthday, and I'll keep announcing it. And what I'll keep doing is announcing these dates. I'll actually be putting up slides on the live when I go live on the dates and where I'll be, so that everybody can be aware of it. And I'll also give resources to where you can go to sign up to join me on those places. I know before I was talking about doing a tour right around the States. You know, I was in New York, I was in Atlanta, I was in DC, I was in LA. Yeah, those were all the cities I was in the last time I was in the States. And unfortunately, I was unable to get together with all of the supporters and subscribers and followers of all the platforms. So now we're going to change that, and we're going to do it on the continent of Africa. And I want you guys to come do it with me. So that is going to be a new initiative for me now, is not only just trying to give information through the live and through the content, but also get people to come with me. Because I always said part of my goal is to get people to think about investing, to think about visiting, and to think about moving. But to think about visiting, the goal now is to give you a way to visit. Instead of me just saying, yeah, you guys should go to Tanzania, or yeah, you should go to Sierra Leone. I'm actually going to be going on trips with companies, and I want you guys to come along with me on these trips. What is likely going to happen is I'll be traveling a lot over the next year. I mean, right now we're just getting used to the traveling, but you can expect in 2024, I probably won't be in any one place longer than a month. I will likely be traveling with different companies to different countries. Many of them will be with tour guides, and with those guides, I'll be inviting you guys along. If I go with like a hotel or an airline or something like that, I likely will be doing that as a solo trip with maybe a social media manager and or significant other. And if I am going with a group, though, I will always open it up to you guys and make sure you guys know. So yeah, all right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, there's a lot here, so let me see if I can just get everything. Hopefully I caught that mistake. Got it. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Okay, that was we already talked about Diamond. Thanks, Diamond. Okay, here we go. Maureen Ed says, I just joined. Who won the election? Marabio won the election. The incumbent president is going to be in office for at least another 5 years. Constitutionally, another 5 years. Okay, AI, or is it AL? Is it Al? I'm guessing it's AI. AI says, I think it's regional more than tribal. That's fair. I mean, regional, tribal, I think they go hand in hand in general, right? But I get what you mean. AI also says, congrats to Marabio. It looks like Dennis Bakar is a Marabio fan as well. Spear Warrior said, didn't see Egypt videos. I'll have to search for that. Yeah, I did a couple of Egypt videos. I did the history of the pyramids. I did, I looked at King Tut's grandparents at the museum. I did a couple of different videos while I was there. I went to go see the Sphinx, all of that in Egypt in November of 2021. And I did a vlog about the whole thing. So if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check out my channel for that. And when I go back, I'm going to do a better job because at that time I was still new to content creation. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'll do more for sure. I'm going to go back to Egypt sometime soon. But I'm really looking forward to more East, Southern, and more West Africa visits. That's really where I am putting a lot of my energy and attention towards. Okay. 24 says, I hear the Gambia is nice. South Africa would be good too. South Africa hasn't been scheduled as of yet. There is a trip that I'm trying to get on. We'll see. But the Gambia is nice. It is nice. Very dusty roads. Anyway, I'm going to do 10 things I wish I knew before coming to Gambia. I'll give you guys a guide to coming to Gambia. All of that stuff is coming. There's like dusty roads because a lot of roads are under construction. This is a country under construction constantly, but there are definitely a lot of people who have like Jamaican descent. I see a lot of African Americans here. I see people from other West African countries here. There are a lot of Sierra Leoneans here due to the Civil War. And I saw a lot of Europeans and also Caucasian Europeans as well, which I found interesting. Okay, Diamond is saying, awesome. I have plans to visit South Africa again, Cape Town to be exact, in February. I would definitely want to visit Ghana and many other countries in Africa too. Absolutely, you absolutely should. It is time to come to the continent for sure. AI says, some people vote on tribes and regional. Congratulations to the winner. All right. Awa says, give thanks to Joe for the election updates. Cheers to Mara Bio, First Lady Fatima Bio, the best, most needed to continue development in our beloved Salon. That is Awa's opinion. But thank you for joining, and I'm happy that you found the election updates useful and helpful. Yahawa says, thanks for the information. How can I get the Kenya tour info? Okay. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram, go to my Instagram profile. It's at authentic_African on Instagram. Click on the link in my profile at the very top. It will say join me in Kenya. Just click on that link and you get all the details. In about a week or so, maybe less than a week, it will also say join me in Tanzania. And you'll be able to click on that to get the details of the Tanzania trip. That's October 6th through the 16th. But Kenya is happening December 28th through January 8th. So if you're interested at all in that, in the Kenya trip, just go to the link in my description on my Instagram page and click on the link that says join me in Kenya, and that'll give you all the details of what that trip will look like so you can come along on that trip. Kellen Cash says, what kind of wife you want for your birthday? Listen, man, I don't want a wife for my birthday. Let me just be very clear. I don't want a wife for my birthday. I want a wife for life, not for my birthday. I want a wife for life. So we'll just leave it at that. But I appreciate the offer, and I'm not having trouble finding candidates. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I want a wife for life, not for my birthday. I'm trying to stick to keeping people. Anyway, family members watch this, man. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. But I'm looking for a wife for life. Just that's what I'm gonna say. Okay. Corey Moment says, I'm relocating there from the US this year to help build. I'd like to connect with anyone who can assist. Where exactly are you moving to? The Gambia or Sierra Leone or any of the other countries I mentioned? I know I mentioned a bunch of different countries today. So where are you moving to? He also said, I'm relocating with my family and an entire organization. We plan to develop and help with the infrastructure. So where is that? Just remind me of where that is, and then we can direct people who can and are willing to help you to be able to help you. Yahweh says, thank you. AI says, Sierra Leone is more united than you see in the media. Election season is always hot, but all related in Salone love, Salone, and best wishes to that blessed land. Okay. All right, guys. One of the people on my trip with me here, it's her birthday today, and they are doing a joint dinner. I did not come to the dinner because of the live I went on with Traverse Media, which I'm going to Kenya with, or Traverse Culture, who I'm going to Kenya with. So I went live with them just before I went live here. And so I missed the birthday celebration. I would imagine it's still going on now. It started at 7. And since tomorrow's a holiday, I'm sure they're still keeping the party going because we don't have anything on the agenda for our trip. So I'm going to be working all day tomorrow. As you guys know, I work on holidays. But I am going to try to go see some of the Eid celebrations here because this is a Muslim majority country, over 70-something% or 80%, I think I heard. And so it is a holiday tomorrow. And so I do want to see some of the festivities I can. There are going to be a lot of goats slaughtered, a lot. The videos you guys are going to see, there were so many goats. I don't think that is a normal occurrence, but because tomorrow's a holiday, so many goats, so many goats. I'm going to tell you, I've seen at least 100 goats, maybe more on my drive to and from where we went to today. There are a lot of goats, a lot. Like just on the road, you'll see people like herding a couple goats because people are going to sell their goats for tomorrow's festivities. So a lot of times in this part of the world, in some of the Islamic traditions and events, they sacrifice an animal. And in Sierra Leone, we have the Sarah. I might have told this before, but when I was 16, my father and he made me go with him to the Bronx to a slaughterhouse and select a lamb, one of the lambs screaming and crying in there. He made me select one, and then they slaughtered it right there. and then we brought it to the event. So that was my first experience with an event like that. 2 years ago, I was in Kenema at a Sarah, and I saw it live. I still have the video. I'm still editing the video. I couldn't send it to my editor to edit because she's a little bit queasy with blood, but you get to see the whole thing if that's interesting to you guys. I may not be able to put it on YouTube. I have to check the rules and restrictions. If I can't, then I'll put it under like behind a paywall or something. And you guys, if you want to watch, you can watch it. But in general, the event itself, I think, was interesting, just to kind of get an idea of how some of our traditions and norms are here in Sierra Leone. Okay. Oh, we've already talked about this. Have we already talked about this? Sierra Leone is more united. Okay. Kellen says, Kia is still dancing, Kia's still dancing. The party's going. Okay, yeah, the party's probably still going. Kia is a different one. I'm going to Kenya with Kia. If you're talking about Kia from Traverse, I'm going to Kenya with Traverse. I'm here in Gambia with VSL. So it's a different person, somebody else's birthday from Sierra Leone. Okay, Black Diamond Essentials LLC says, good evening from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm looking to relocate to Freetown, Sierra Leone with my 2 small children. I would like to make the move in 6 months. Okay, so here's what you can do. Email me at the email that's on the screen there. You can email me and I can talk to you if you have any questions about making the move. I am doing consulting calls, by the way, for folks. So many people ask to do one-on-one calls with me. And so I am doing consulting calls with folks, and I'm going to talk about what the consulting looks like and what I can offer you and all of that. I have to reschedule one that was supposed to be happening today, but so I see if we can do it tomorrow. But yeah, I'm more than happy to do that for you guys. AI says gamble. Okay, I think this must have meant Gambia. Gambia and Sierra Leone is so similar, and the people are also. Yes, I would say. Somebody's watching from Alaska. Sick Lion is watching from Alaska. Shout out to you. Black Diamond Essential says you're going to email me. Great. Sounds good. And let's see, Kellen Cash. I guess that was about the fact that I'm going on a different trip with a different group. All right, cool. All right, guys, let's bring this thing to an end. It's been an hour and 37 minutes. We're down to 85 people. Today was probably the most attended live I think we've done. So I want to thank all of you guys for sharing this with everyone, making sure that people came to join the live. I think we had around 100. And where was it at the peak? I think it was like 160 something, 170 something people at the peak. So a lot of people on the live, for me anyway. So I'm glad that this is resonating with folks and you guys found it useful, and that at least 84 of you guys stayed on to the very end. I mean, we're at an hour and 38 minutes in, and you guys are still here. So I want to thank you guys all for joining and engaging in the conversation. Again, I want to remind you guys to send this to anybody you know who wants to know about what the elections were like and are like in Sierra Leone. You can also look back at the previous live where we went through some of the earlier comments and questions from, who are the political parties, who are the candidates, what are their platforms, all of that. We talked about that last week, so go back to that last live. A couple people are throwing out the numbers that we're on. Spirit Warrior said I saw 162. AI says 170. Now, I am live on multiple platforms, so those numbers can vary based on platform. So like right now, for instance, we have people on 2 different YouTube lives. We have different people. We have some people on Twitch, and we have some people on Facebook. So there have been people, and then people on Instagram too, which I didn't even count the number of people who were on Instagram as well. Corey says, hello, everyone. I'm relocating there from the US this year to help build. I'd like to connect with anyone who can assist. Corey, we got to tell us where you're going. I think we said this earlier. Where are you relocating to specifically? Is it Gambia? Is it Sierra Leone? Because we want to make sure that people who can assist and who want to assist will assist, but we have to be more specific about where you're relocating to. I would imagine maybe you're saying Gambia because I am in Gambia and I've been saying that. But I just want to be clear because we've been talking about Sierra Leone elections and I'm in Gambia right now. I also mentioned Tanzania and I also mentioned Kenya today. So if you can let us know, and if we end up off of the live before you're able to answer it, just put it in the comments in the replay, and we'll just make sure people can reach out to you. Ms. S says you also have people on Roku. Nice. I would imagine you guys are watching YouTube on a Roku device, though, right? I presume that's probably the case, right? I would imagine so. Okay, there we go. Corey saying Sierra Leone. Perfect. All right. So Corey, you and I should connect as well. You have my email here. Shoot me an email because I'd love to talk to you about your relocation and what you're doing. So yeah, shoot me an email so we can talk. I definitely want to talk to you about what you got going on. All right. Now we're really going to go because I need to go check out what's going on with this group while I'm here in person. So again, I want to thank you all for joining the live. We still have more people who are normally on the live, still on the live right now. It usually peaks at like 70 something people. So I want to thank you guys all for joining this. This is really incredible to see this community growing and all of your engagement and the fact that you guys always share this content with people. And hope that you guys all are finding this useful. I'm going to continue to do this every week. Remember to watch all of my videos. Hit the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. When you subscribe, make sure you go over to my Instagram page and follow the Instagram page. Make sure you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you follow on Twitter. Make sure you follow on Facebook and all available platforms. So Destination Africa Group TV says, great job. Thank you. I think that's probably Michael. What's up, Michael? Anna Benna, what's up, guys? Corey says, I have an entire team of professionals joining me in Sierra Leone. Nice. Love to hear it. Miss S says, typically watch you via YouTube on Roku. Nice. Yes, love that. Spirit Warrior says, link me also. I'm trying to move to Salone also. Yes. And lastly, we have Diamond and Forbes saying, good day, everyone. All right. Good day, Diamond Forbes. All right, guys. So next week, Tuesday, we're going to go live again on Tuesday, not on Monday. And we're going to talk about where I am and what I've been doing this week in the Gambia. And then we're going to also be promoting these other live interactive events where you guys can be with me and Leslie Jones and other people in person. So we'll be sharing that in the moment. So, or in the coming weeks. All right. So with that, guys, of course, as always, thanks for watching. And I will see you all on the next video.